saying like we stopped a conversation before we recorded where you were saying like you feel like at this point, or maybe always, doing like a bad show for two people in a big empty room actually doesn't help you get better.
I think there's a real survivor's bias with professional stand-up comedians where they go, every bad show I've ever done has made me who I am. And I don't think doing a barroom show for two people has ever taught me anything other than it sucks to do a barroom show for two people. I think tough shows are great, but tough shows with enough people that are into the show enough for you to have any exchange whatsoever with the crowd to actually work on your material and learn what to do and what not to do, for sure. But I don't think every show has merit or value. Yeah. I think sometimes you just do shitty shows and put $15 in your pocket and walk on.
What about if there's people there, could it still be not worth it? If it's like, what if there are enough people there, but can it still just be like so bad? Like, I feel like when the fans are on, that's the thing I hate the most now, is like when we do a show at a brewery and it's just like,
yeah, that like, really sucks.
This is
too. It's like some of my family, my brother just had a quadruple bypass. He's doing okay.
Damn.
But that was sort of like the first time I've really interacted with that side of the family and had a long conversation about comedy. So they want to come and see me do comedy, and I had to tell them, like, wait till there's a show
that's good. That might be good.
That might be good. Right.
I have a chance to do well for you.
Because some of it, so much of it is just going through the motions of doing comedy, hoping maybe something special happens.
Yeah.
And it so rarely does.
Yeah, that's most shows are like at my level, but most shows are like, I'm so glad no one I know is here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like my parents, I did Knoxville last 4th of July, almost exactly a year ago, and my parents and my sister came out,
Yeah.
and they'd never seen it before, and it was so bad. It was like, no one came because it was the 4th of July. Right. It was that movie theater show in Knoxville, which is usually good. And I went at the end, I headlined after like 2 hours.
Headline.
Yeah. So it was like, it was bad the whole time. And then after the first hour, all the comics started being like, I guess you guys don't like jokes. Fuck you. And then I finally got up and it was just my family and like 2 other people. And I at one point I couldn't make the sounds right. I was like, I started to lose my, and then afterwards my family was like, it was good. I was like, let's not at least.
Yeah. Don't lie
about it.
Don't lie.
Please leave.
You should just go. Is it always like this?
Yeah.
That's a reasonable question to have after that. Don't go, it was good. Yeah, no. I think there are a lot of really hard shows with crowds that could be into it if somebody got them on board, and those are opportunities to learn how to pull people in and get people's attention and own the stage and own the space and make it yours and do your thing. But you're not going to do that with 3 people.
Yeah.
And even if you do, I don't think you learned anything from it. I think you just succeeded at putting on an okay show for 3 people. I don't know that it translates so much that it isn't negligible.
Yeah. Like if you did that 100 times, you might not.
Yeah.
You might just quit. Or you might even have had a bunch of good ideas that you gave up on because nobody laughed at them,
maybe if you put too much stock in their reaction for a show that small. Yeah. Because it's the same way where I have jokes that crush at good shows, and I can do those same jokes for 3 people, and of course they're not going to crush.
Yeah.
There's not enough people.
Yeah, it's not possible.
There's not enough people for the 3 people that are in the audience. Those same 3 people in a larger crowd would have become more of one organism with everybody else and gone, oh, it's okay to laugh at this.
Yeah. But there's just all that, I think just empty air, empty space is like the enemy of comedy. I mean, it's like the oldest, it's like the one thing we all agree on. It's like it should be kind of compressed.
Yeah.
You want the ceilings low. You want people packed in.
Yeah.
You don't want it just
it's got
outside, outside with 2 people is like the worst.
This is also something I've been thinking about, where a good comedy show should feel like the cops could come in here and break this up at any moment. That's the perfect. It's like punk rock at CBGB. You know what I mean? Like real something special is happening here.
Yeah,
and
it's almost threatening to like the status quo or something like that. Like it's almost shaking things up in some way where people...
in the sense that very likely these are subjects that we don't ordinarily talk about in polite society, and also and most certainly things that we don't laugh about in polite society. And so there should be like we're kind of we might get in trouble. You know what I mean?
Riskiness.
Yeah, but and you could do that with a mob. You know what I mean? With 1,000 people, you could do anything. But with 3, there's a very limited number of things that you can do without getting caught.
Let's go storm the federal building. It's like 3 people. It's like, there's not enough of us.
Exactly. Exactly. But that doesn't mean that you can't have fun.
Yeah.
You know, you can have fun with 3 people. I just don't think you learn so much that translates to a real show with a real crowd that it's not negligible.
Yeah, when you do get like a real good show, I mean, it's just like, wow. I mean, because there's that, like, you know, a few times a year I'll get thrown some like really amazing show.
Yeah.
Like if it's a good year.
Yeah.
And then even then though, like nobody knows who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine doing shows where like it's a good show and there's people there and the sound is good and all that, and they
everyone
came
knows
for
who
you.
you
Like
are.
they
Yeah,
just already like you. It's like holy. I mean, I just can't imagine. Like it's almost like sounds too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just never experienced anything close to that.
I mean, I've heard people talk about how that can make you lazy, but I'd love the opportunity to get lazy.
Yeah,
because that sounds
right.
That sounds
coming up
like
on 10
so
years.
much
It's like,
fun.
can I get lazy some of the time?
Yeah.
Nope. It just keeps like you get that one little good thing, and then it just goes back down.
Yeah,
that's how it was with like music or my band or like play the Orange Peel or something. You'd be like, all right, now it's gonna be good, and then after that, it just goes back down.
Oh, that's interesting because you performed a lot of music and comedy. So like, how different is it?
It's like I think it's more like binary with comedy where you just know if it went well or not.
Right.
Whereas with music, it's kind of like it's hard to tell sometimes.
Right.
You know, it's just people are kind of doing stuff and there's music happening. But with comedy, it's like I mean, you just know.
Yeah.
Like a few minutes,
So
everyone's
much
like.
more. It seems like even though you can pour your soul into a song that you've written, and it might feel bad if nobody seemed to have really liked it.
Yeah.
It still seems like it would be much more of a personal, intimate, crushing blow to have a joke go poorly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like at least you can like keep strumming chords and just kind of fill the silence.
You could just go right into the next song.
Yeah, you're bombing with music, but you're still able to make there's still sounds happening, you know, like with comedy there's these long, like just dead. Just the
God, that's what made Mitch Hedberg's 30-minute for Comedy Central, that one where he had the bass in the background, the boom, 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 boom. That had such a weird feel to it because even when, like to your point, even when the jokes didn't do well, it was like everybody was still on board.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there's the one bit that I do, the preacher bit that I do with it, and it has music in the background, which I don't know how I feel about that bit, but the music keeps everyone locked in. Yeah. It's still one act out, one performance that everybody's still willing to keep going with, even if a line doesn't go well.
Yeah, I love that bit, and I feel like that's like did you see Rory Scovel's late night set where he's like, there's a guy playing the piano and he's like wearing a suit? It's from like 10 years ago. But
that was his friend from South Carolina.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like that was one of my favorite sets.
That's like a real jazzy. like all right, guy.
Yeah. I almost feel like that set should be like you should do it on late night or something. Like it's hard to imagine it like in an hour or something.
I think it'd be hard to get the blasphemous parts of that on late night TV, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, or some internet equivalent now. You know, just like get a good take of it. That's.
Yeah, I put it on. I put it on YouTube, and there's a part in the joke where I get a big laugh, and then I pause, and then I go, "What is comedy, really?" And somebody commented, comedy is not this. And I printed it out and hung it up above my computer. That's my favorite. That's my best credit so far in my comedy career, is that man hating what I do. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, getting a reaction. I think most people tend to really like your comedy, but I think you probably get like a strong reaction either way, which is good. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's like people were going to remember it, regardless of how they felt. I think that's good, not to just blend into the endless white dudes that you just the blur.
Hard not to blend into the endless sea of white dudes.
Yeah, well, you managed to transcend the cliche white dude archetype.
Hey, I'm
always trying to get
a new comedy bio. I've transcended the sea of white dudes in my path.
Yeah.
That's very kind. I would hope that people remember my stuff, and I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to, but I do feel like people come up and go, "We've been saying that line to each other at the house for weeks now," or whatever the line was, and that I get a kick out of that all the time. But I have had people come up after the show, like Christians in particular, which is why I'm trying to make that one joke I have. I'm trying to duct tape a pillow to one side of it. You know what I mean?
Sexy at church?
No, the suicide bit that goes into abortion.
Yeah.
Fingernails is the name of it.
Yeah.
But I had this one lady in Greenville come up afterwards, and she was like, "Do you think you could talk that way about Judaism or all these other religions?" And I was like, "Yeah, if I was Jewish." Like I grew up Christian.
Yeah.
This is my experience
Yeah.
with
You're making fun of
organized religion.
your own culture.
Yeah.
And not somebody other
Right.
culture. Everybody's
So I'm sorry that you don't agree, and I think she started crying, and so she did, and
because if you had just been like, good point, but then you were like,
Right.
well, actually, it's just like, oh.
it doesn't occur to me to agree with people almost ever, but so I disagreed with her, and then she started crying, and I was like, hey, it's okay, we don't all have to agree. And this goes into the thing where it's like,
we don't all have to agree.
Nobody's ever stood up at a, what's that guy's name? He looks like a tugboat captain.
Comedian?
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
He, if he's ever beating someone to death and it's a hate crime in a movie, which I don't think he's ever done, but if he were to do that, nobody's going to stand up in the movie theater and be like, I don't agree with what you're doing.
Yeah.
But because it's comedy and it's in real time, and audiences don't really have a concept of the fact that we've written all this out and shaped it ahead of time, they think we're just talking. They feel like we're spewing our thoughts in real time, and so that if they disagree, that they should say something. And I wonder a lot.
That's a bad audience member. That's just,
yes,
you should not be.
Absolutely.
But
you're going to have bad audience members.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like,
especially at our level, or, we were talking about, you're not they're not buying a ticket with your name on it.
So I'm trying to find ways to duct tape a pillow to one side of whatever part of the joke is really blunt, and for it to be a little less world shattering for those people for me to say something like that. But sometimes it's just going to happen regardless.
I don't think you need to worry about that at all. I don't think that's not your audience, and it's never going to be your audience. And I think that you're so starkly not that
no,
why?
But I do think it's an exercise in learning how to say what you want to say, even though what you want to say might be jarring.
Right. Well, I agree with that. That sounds good. And maybe even I don't know if you look out at the room and you go, well, I can do the duct taped pillow version for this crowd. You can start to kind of I think that's worthwhile kind of going. And then you're at the odd or some real alt room, and you're it's going to be all the way to filthy and, challenge.
Yeah. And if I had different versions of certain jokes, then I could I'll know by the time I get to that part whether or not I can say it the way I want to say it, or if I have to say it in in the little sliver of the Venn diagram of things that we both believe enough to be said out loud in public.
It's just hard for me to think of like your act. Just once you start, I mean, it's just like what's going to be left if it's for that lady, you know? Like,
well, no, it's not necessarily for that
there are
lady.
some jokes that are not going to offend her. You know, brushing your teeth with other people's teeth.
Yeah,
that's a fun one.
But I do wish I was better at finding ways to say things that, because I want everybody to have a good time. And if they're not having a good time, I at least want them to stay quiet while I get to another thing that they might like. And I don't know, I guess that's it. I would like to be better at that. But
there's like
sometimes it's difficult.
It's come up on this pod a few times. It's something that Patrice O'Neill said that come back to, where it's like he doesn't want everybody in the room to be having a good time. He wants there to be some percentage of people. The comedy is the best when there's some percentage that's upset.
Yeah, but I'm a small white guy, and there's a big difference.
Well, yeah.
Patrice O'Neill had a very commanding presence.
Yeah,
I don't have a commanding presence. Not one.
I think you're kind of similar to him.
If I'm not speaking,
I think you come from you have an outsider. You seem like you come from some other place. You know, and like I think like Patrice is like, you don't seem like you're within the culture, if that makes sense. You kind of seem like you're
maybe
from another planet or something.
But what I'm saying is, if I walk into a business and there's like people crowded around, people don't look at me the same way that they would look at Patrice O'Neill.
Right, yeah.
He has a commanding presence without saying a word. It demands respect because he's a big guy. When he does start talking, it's very loud and booming and confident and commanding, right? And so someone like that, or I would compare him to like Travis Thubband in Greenville. Mm-hmm. He has a very commanding presence.
Yeah.
I think it's very different for comedians who are small like me. I'm a very small man, so small. I'm a small boy. And so I have to like win people over. Yeah, and then they'll listen to what I have to say.
It's weird though, because I never think of you as small. We'll say that from time to time, but it's like I'm tall, so it's like that. I don't see, I think about the things that I don't feel I have, but that's just I don't even scan that. And I think your presence on stage is larger than life.
I wonder if you could remember how you felt the first time you saw me, if it would be the same.
We should talk about that, because I remember like you seem to get like fully formed and good like faster than anybody.
Oh God, I hope I'm not fully formed.
I mean, I feel like it was just a matter of months, because you started before Asheville. Well, you'd maybe done a little bit of some months in like South Carolina, right? But
I did about a year in South Carolina.
Oh, okay, it was a year, yeah. But you were still coming up during
maybe
that year.
10 months.
So I think it was
9 or 10 months.
At first, I remember thinking like, there's a little bit of Mitch in your voice or something. Like I feel like, but then it just so quickly became like its own weird thing. Like you and Moira both, are both kind of not around as much, and it was like, I feel like there's a time where it was like you two were really like setting the tone for the scene, which was really cool because you're both kind of like, to me, you both kind of have like from another planet. Like, I don't know, like, do you feel like growing up, like, did you know you were funny? Did you like be like, as a kid, you were like, oh, I can use humor to like disarm people or something like that? Did you figure out what jokes are and what humor is like early?
Well, we touched on 3 things there. So one, I was very fortunate in that I think I caught on to it quicker than maybe on average comics do.
Yeah.
And I feel very grateful for that, but I don't think it's necessarily anything that I did differently. I think I just caught on quicker. Second, it's interesting that you think that we were setting the tone, Moira and I, because I felt like that whole time I was just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, what was the third thing? When I was a kid, did I disarm people with my comedy?
Yeah. Or did you have a sense that you're like, I know how jokes work, or I'm funny?
I mean, I've always liked to joke around a lot, but it was never like, I don't think I was the class clown like people say. I mostly tried to keep to myself, but I failed in that very often and wound up getting into a lot of trouble. But I didn't have a whole lot of friends necessarily, but I did have a lot of people that liked to be around me to see what I would do or say.
Yeah, like a fun factor or like a what's this dude gonna do kind of thing. Like
right.
Yeah.
But then none of those people spent the night at my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I barely had it.
It's like a comedy audience, you know. It's like this is gonna be fucking wild and fun, and then it's like that's the moment.
So like I guess there was a lot of that in school. I haven't really thought about it in those terms, but yeah, I mean. Jimmy Carr has this theory that I disagree with. That he goes, if I met a comedian, I would ask them which one of your parents was sick. He thinks that every comic had a sick parent, and I guess it depends on your definition of sick.
And statistically, we all have at least one sick parent. If you get into like mental illness and stuff,
I don't know that really shapes a comedian. Out of someone who would have been a bank teller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really subscribe to that either. But that said, both of my parents were sick in a lot of ways. So I had a very strange childhood growing up. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that
I think it's got to be
turned
in there.
me into a comic or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it has to play out that way, you know, but I think that does seem like if you have just some outsider's not the right word, but it's like you're coming from some different experience. I don't know. When I watch you perform too, I feel like you have like a lot of emotions too. Like I feel like just having a person be up there and experiencing strong feelings is very magnetic. And some people are just kind of like trying to remember what they said, but you seem like you're always like fully committed to like, you know, doing the lines. Like you have good writing, but then you do perform them with a lot of like really bizarre energy that's like really strong.
Bizarre energy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like unique, you know, it's not like, you know, you watch enough open mics and stuff and you can almost tell like everybody has a favorite comic that they're like imitating at first. I think that's okay because it's scary to be yourself, you know, but I think you've kind of got to whatever your own voice is like pretty quick. Like for me, it's like I'm almost 9 years and I feel like it's a very slow, long, each year I get a little, and that's like, but then I think you're kind of a lot more rare, and then it's just like in a matter of months, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I sort of know how to do this.
Yeah. It's so hard to talk about all this stuff without feeling like I'm being
like arrogant sounding.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of setting you up. I'm like, why are you so great?
Like,
and then I'm like, I'm going to post you later being like,
no,
I'm such a genius. And you're like,
But on that note, though, I don't really feel like I ever imitated anybody. If I did, it was subconscious.
Yeah.
Because I certainly never did it on purpose. But I also don't think, like, whatever amount of that I did, I don't think it was very much. I mean, I specifically didn't read anything about comedy or how to do comedy or watch anything about anyone explaining how to do comedy because I didn't want to learn from anybody.
You want to come up with your own system.
Yeah. And I actively ignored so much advice from other people in the scene, some of which I'm happy that I ignored, some of which were just lessons that I wasn't able to learn yet, and so it did no good to tell me. Yeah. Which is a lot of newer comics. It's like, I try really hard not to help new comics. Yeah. And it's because it's not going to do any good. Yeah. I don't think new comics learn all of the lessons that they have to learn the best way possible without just learning them. And I mean, you could try to steer somebody, and if somebody asks for advice, I'll give it to them. But I don't go out of my way to.
Yeah, I feel like most of us it's like the traditional path is like it's a long, slow thing, and it's just like, can you even stick around for 10 years? Because it's probably going to be at least 10 to get good. Like I feel like at 15, I'm going to be like, you know, pretty like maybe good. I don't know, but then there's I feel like they're on the outliers for me. I'm just talking shit about what I see. You know, I'm not saying any of this is true, but like occasionally you get people that like get really good fast and figure it out, and then occasionally you get people who just never get better. Like they just don't understand. And there's like and then most of us are just like it's a long, slow kind of thing. I don't know. That's almost how I see it. There's like 3 different buckets for how you can.
Yeah.
And then, but with people that do get fast, I'm always like interested. People that do get good so fast, I'm always like, do you have a sense of why that would be? Or I guess it's like you can't really step outside yourself, and maybe you're the last person that would know because you can't.
I'm always looking out my own eyes, as Brad Pitt says. I have no idea what it's like for other people, so I don't know. But I, yeah, it's hard to say. I see other people struggle more than I did.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that is sometimes. But then there's people who are way better than me, and I have no fucking clue how they do what they do. So, I mean, I was also older when I started.
Yeah, same.
I think that probably helped. And I've always been, funny-ish, way funnier now, but I've always been funny. So it's like I just don't think I had to go through the super initial stuff that a lot of people do. So that helped.
What about like stage fright and stuff though? Were you like really nervous to be talking into a microphone at first?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because that's part of it too. Like for me, it was like took a year or two just to be like not just a nervous, sweaty wreck.
I think it took me about 4 months. And then I was like, oh, this. And I still, there's plenty of shows where I get nervous beforehand, but as soon as I grab the mic, it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm in it.
What's that like? Are you like, is it kind of like out of body, or you feel like you change to a different character, or like what's the like when you grab the mic versus like who you are now walking around?
What's it like when I grab the mic?
Yeah. Has it changed in some way?
I don't know. I grab the mic and I start going into my shit, and my heart slows down, and I don't feel like my legs are gonna give out, and I just feel, I don't know, I just feel like I'm at home. Like it's sort of like that. It's sort of like the anxiety of being out and about and having to drive, and there might be a wreck, and that's like all that. But then when you get home and sit down, it's like it feels like that.
That's cool. So it's a comfortable place to be able
Yeah.
to. Did you do any other, did you perform? I know you play music, but did you do any like stage theater or like any other like art?
No,
performance art?
never really performed music either, here and there. But
did you write stuff before?
Yeah, I wrote songs.
You were like writing? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like before comedy, you like writing words in journals and stuff and just that.
Well, I always journaled a lot, but it was mostly dribble, just free thought journaling. I didn't really ever write that many lyrics for songs. I mostly just wrote music, but I did journal a lot. I wrote more then than I do now. I can't get myself to sit down and write to save my life, but
yeah, I feel like I write a little less too, but I feel like I'm trying to get to where I can write with talking, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. But I think also in that first year...
I will never understand.
Really?
I will never understand.
You write everything out before you get the words.
Who can get on stage and write.
Yeah.
You're another breed.
Well, I was excited when I saw you. There was some time around like a year or two after we used to do comedy together every week, where you started doing crowd work, and I was like, that was a moment where I was like, oh shit, this is like really feels like it's gonna be amazing, because it wasn't just things you'd written before. I almost think for me, it's like you kind of got to be able to break that fourth wall. Like I feel like if you're afraid to do crowd work, your material's not gonna work because they'll pick up on it. So like I remember being excited when I saw you kind of doing that, which like I don't know if you call that writing on stage, but you're still you don't know what's next,
Sure.
So it's like it's a whole different
time.
Yeah.
Riffing, and do crowd work and riffing both. And every now and then I'll say something where maybe I'll add a tag to a joke, or maybe it'll give me an idea for a premise, but I've never, like, to the degree that people go, I'm going to talk about Israel, and then they get on stage and they write a whole joke just off the top of their head. I will never understand that.
Yeah, I don't know how much luck. I don't think I've had a lot of luck at that, but I do try it a lot. I've been trying it a lot recently, but a lot of times it's like it's just a premise at Root Bar, and there is no joke.
I have to write everything out. I have to write the subject on a whiteboard and circle it, and then go off in offshoots to every subject that is attached to that subject that I could potentially go in. So those are my directions, and then go off of each one of those and just like mind map it, and then free write on each thing that I decide might have merit might have value to the joke, and that's it. That's the only way I can do it.
So what would be like an example of like a subject, that first thing? Like,
so like when I was writing, the initial idea for Fingernails was just I wanted to write a joke about suicide because it's such a hard subject to write a joke about because people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that was just sort of like a challenge to myself because I really wanted to be able to talk about it because it's a big part of my life because I struggle with suicidal ideation constantly, or did.
Right.
It's gotten a little bit better recently, but at the time it was really bad. And I, first of all, genuinely almost died writing that joke. Like I was so deep in that headspace that it was dangerous, and I probably shouldn't have done that. But the way that I do it would be like on a whiteboard, I write down suicide, I circle it, and then I do like 8 to 10 lines off of it. Mm-hmm. And I go, okay, suicide as it relates to my family, how my family thinks about it. Have they been any help? Are they ever going to be any help? Why are they not any help? And then I would go, my friends, how are they helpful? Blah, blah, blah. How do people normally conceptualize suicide? And so what do I need to correct in the beginning of the joke so that people actually understand what I'm talking about and not just what they think I'm talking about? Just anything that relates to suicide that might be
funny?
What's the well, funny
relevant,
but relevant.
Or connected?
Relevant is the word I was trying to think of. So like, yeah, just anything attached to that might be relevant, and then I go off.
So you're not even
each
starting
one of
with
those.
jokes. You're just kind of exploring the topic first.
Sometimes I will. Like sometimes if I think of a funny line, I'll start with the line.
Okay, yeah.
But then I delude that, or what's the word? I take away from something to make
extract?
I extract from that what actually is that line talking about, and then that's the subject, and then I'll work back from there.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm big on mind mapping too. I have a big whiteboard in that room where I'm always like, I do circles and lines, other circles. One. Yeah, my big whiteboard's great, dude. It's like so.
I've got one about the size of this table.
Oh yeah.
It's nowhere near big enough.
Yeah,
I need one like 3 times that size.
So then you're actually like putting together the actual sentences that you're saying, like with all the descriptive words. Does that happen aside? You have the whiteboard as like your main map, and then you're kind of like doing like journaling, like
Well, while I'm like exploring it, if I think of like a sentence or a paragraph that might actually get turned into lines for the joke, I'll write it out on the whiteboard beside it, and then I'll circle that, and then I'll do that all the way around. And so it winds up being like subject in the middle, ideas of where to go with it around that, and then smashed into all the corners of the whiteboard are actual lines that might go into the joke, and all messy like that.
The farthest out layer of the onion is like the jokes, but it starts with like, that's crazy. So you like tend to put like a lot of time and thought into your writing. You're not just like,
when I can force myself to sit down and do it. I'm so fucking lazy, man.
Was there something particular that like makes that you just have to wait till you're able to do that amount of focus?
I've been trying to get better at forcing myself to sit down because I'd love to really make this like, it's 9 a.m. It's time to write.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's so fucking hard.
Like the structure of it is almost at odds with like being a creative weirdo. Like, it's almost like a job at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but if I can force myself to sit down and just start writing, usually by the 3rd page of bullshit, I'll go, oh, that's a good line, and I'll circle that.
Just free, you're just like morning paging. You're just just stream of conscious, and then you find.
By the 5th page, I'm like, oh, there's 2 good lines on that page, and then by the 6th or 7th page, I'm circling like big blocks of text where I'm like, all of this is doable. I can work on that.
Like you're getting warmed up, and it's getting better.
Yeah, it's just if you can, or at least for me, if I can force myself to sit down and write. By the time I get to the 7 to 10 pages in, I'm I'm actually
like
writing,
in the zone at that point.
But
yeah.
it takes so long to get to that point, and it's so much work to get to that point that I rarely do it like I should do it.
This is like so different from how I work, where everything's like the tiniest fragments that I take up on stage, and I'm like, yeah, I do need to. I always want to be more like where I can really go deep with my writing sessions, but
The thing that's helped me is I used to do it in notebooks, but I get this weird feeling like, oh, somebody might read this one day because it's fucking, you know what I mean? It's a nice leather-bound notebook, you know what I mean? And nobody's ever going to read it, first of all, but also it's like, it doesn't matter. But the fact that it's a book and it's one enclosed unit, that fucks me up. So I got a clipboard and I just started using computer paper.
Oh yeah.
And I just write.
Oh yeah, the legal
and then
pad.
I ball it up, throw it away. I keep writing.
Same thing. It's like I just buy packs of these because it's a cheap piece of shit, so I can just go. Whereas when I have that nice like moleskin, it's like I'm intimidated by the thing.
No, I've got one. You know, is my bag still outside?
Maybe.
Shit, I've got a camera in there. I need to.
Let's make sure you're back. I'm gonna get some more coffee anyway. Is this too like? I can go like all day on that like meta like writing shit. Is it too?
No.
Okay.
I hoped we would get into stuff like this because I love talking about this. And it's awkward to talk about in any other form other than two white guys on a podcast. So I'm about it.
I think people are going to be interested in it.
Great.
Because it's like, what does happen when you get up? I saw you at Music Hall like a few weeks ago.
Thank you.
One of the best sets. I mean,
where?
At the Music Hall. I was there with Emily. I think it was like your first time back, maybe in a while. I don't make it every week.
It was my first time back up here.
Yeah, back in Nashville.
I performed once at Coffee. Went terribly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had been out for 5 months with long COVID.
Somebody told me you were down. Maybe Coble or somebody was like, "Oh, Jess is like coming out to Coffee Underground now." I want to go down there on a Monday nights. I think Cody goes down sometimes too. Right? Yeah. I could like get down there with him.
It's great when there's enough people, but that's the problem that we're having right now. Is just like when I left from down there, because I did like 10 months or whatever, and it was great. It was packed out a lot in that room, and then I moved up here, and then stayed here for a long time, and I just now moved back down there, and it's rough.
It's waning.
Yeah.
On comics or just on audience members?
There's comics. I don't mean to be mean about that, but like, how many comics are there that can sustain people wanting to come back to see him again?
Yeah. Is it a good show? Like mostly,
Yeah. Not many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people down there that are just still learning.
Yeah.
That's mostly what it is. I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, there's some, just like anywhere, there's comics that probably should stop, and everything that they say is just the most inflammatory shit they can think of for shock value, but that's everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, there is a large bulk of comics in Greenville that are just still learning. They don't know any better, and they'll get better if they keep doing it. But the number of people that are like, if a audience member came out and watched the show and they were like, oh, I want to see that person again, maybe 4.
Yeah, that's rough. That's Asheville's. I think it's doing better now, but there was people leave. Like you were gone for a while. Moira's gone. James Harrod moved. Cody's come and gone a few times. It's definitely like there have been some times where I'm looking around. And I'm like, I've been doing this longer than by far than everyone here, and that's not good. You know, you need like Jason Webb kind of comes and goes. I want people that I'm like scared to follow, people that I'm intimidated by.
Jason Webb's so fucking good.
I need to get him on here. Jason Webb. He was the first one that I really, when I started here like 8 or 9 years ago, he was my favorite.
Yeah.
I was just like, because he had these perfect little short jokes.
Yeah.
but then he could also tell stories. And
his personality, on stage, man.
Yeah, just his vibe.
It's so charming.
Yeah, I know the likability.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like Hillary, Jason Webb, people that are just like
it's like Shane Gillis.
Yeah,
he's just so charming. I wish I had that.
Me too. I think there's a lot of different ways to get there. It's like likability is one that could be huge. Being good at comedies is good.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. So you brought your tech stuff out there. You're pretty like tech savvy too, right? With like
I'm trying to be trying
like
to become tech
disclaimer
savvy.
video.
Yeah. I'm still learning how to do everything, but yeah, I would like to be.
Are there things that you want to do like with tech? And sometimes people come on here and PD will be like, "Oh, I write scripts and send them off." Like, are there other things you kind of?
Yeah. Well, I really want to start a YouTube channel. I've been working on it for a long time, and I'm not quite where I want to be to start, but I'm getting close. But there's like nerdy deep dives into the mechanisms of comedy, but it's like that's not really what I want to do. I wanted it. There's like YouTube channels like Harris Heller and 1000 and Harris Heller does tech stuff, and then 1000 paints murals, and it's not necessarily like I'm gonna teach everyone how to do this. It's just they're really just like I made this. And join me in my waxing poetically about how much I love my art form and the things that I love about it. And here are some interesting things that I think about a lot in this art form. And I just don't think there's so few people that really show what comedy is from an art form perspective. Does that make sense?
Let me like try to see if I understand what you mean. Like, there's like traditional kind of like set up punch, but you're talking more about like expanding.
No, not the style of comedy. I mean, like there are people that get upset if you call them an artist in comedy.
Oh, really? Yeah,
which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And there's
like that Louis episode where the guy's like, he goes to do comedy in the Midwest. And there's another guy there that's just doing like lightness farts on fire and stuff. At the end, he like falls off a toilet. You know the one I'm talking about?
No, I haven't seen that.
At the end, he falls off a toilet and smashes his head. But yeah, Louis like, I'm from New York. It's an art form. And he's like, it's not a fucking art form. It's just like people. But you're saying like it is.
But Louis said it's not an art form.
Yeah, he plays the pretentious New York comic who's like, it's an art form. And there's like. And he's like supposed to be the headliner, but by the end of the weekend, this other guy's headlining because he's just up there lighting his farts on fire and shit.
Man,
and everybody's like,
I could not disagree more. It's such an art form.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
I think the best comics are artists. I think there was a time in comedy when we needed people to be saying inflammatory shit because you couldn't. Mm-hmm. And that time has come and gone.
Yeah, Kill Tony has ruined it for at least 10 more years.
I can't watch Kill Tony. I really can't. I die from cringe every time I watch Kill Tony. I can't watch somebody who really does not get that they shouldn't be doing comedy get up on stage in front of how many people?
Yeah.
And give it everything they've got and then just get destroyed by a panel of professional comedians.
Yeah.
It's just so...
It doesn't feel like...
It's so hard to watch.
It feels like it's as far away from like what I think you're saying about it being art form to me, which is kind of like... I felt that way about American Idol in the 2000s. Like music meant a lot to me at that time. And I was like, this is... Now I'm actually fine with American Idol in hindsight. But it was like, this like game show caricature of the thing that I love is not helping people's understanding of it.
But I mean, hey, it's popular, and so there's a place for it, and there's people that like it, and so to any of those people, I'm wrong. But I can't watch it. It drives me up a wall to watch. You can see it in their eyes. They're just crushed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that to anybody. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that happen to anybody.
Yeah, I just see the clips and
breaks
I'm like,
my heart.
I'll never watch it. Like we'll throw it up, and I'm just like, I've never watched an episode. And the more I hear the younger comics talking about it, the more I'm like, all right, everybody's like, I don't even want to watch Shane Gillis for the same reason. Like, I love Shane, but it's like I see so many people imitating him that I'm like, I better not if I'm gonna be ripping somebody off a little.
God, how many Shanes do you think are in Austin right now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like he's the only one. Yeah. That's something that Cody said when he was on here, that you have a prominent comic like that, and he gets up and he's great bro comic, but then every other bro in the world goes, I should be doing it. That's me. I could. And then you go to Mike's. Like I went to Nashville and it was like mostly the number of Shanes there. I mean, and some people were very funny, but it was just like so many Shanes,
like Danes in the 90s.
Yeah.
So great.
But when you say like an art form, like what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Like,
I think that art. I think that the average person walking around who doesn't know anything about comedy has an idea of what stand-up comedy is, and it's maybe for some people it's a dude in a suit and tie talking about Fruit Loops, and maybe for some people it's a guy who looks like me saying inflammatory shit about other races. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think most people really understand what it is to have an idea that you want to convey to a large group of people in a way that makes everybody laugh and diffuse all of the stress and tension that lives in and around and on that subject.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about comedy. And I love comedy. I love it to the point where nobody wants to hear me talk about it, but I love it.
Did you always love it, or is it more like when you got into stand-up?
I always loved it, but I never knew how much I would love it once it
got to be more once you were inside it. You're I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's my favorite.
Because I always loved listening to comedy, but once I started, I was like, oh, what have I been doing? This is absolutely what I'm supposed to be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I've wasted so much time not doing it. But it's like, as an art form, it's like, if comedy is compared to painting, it's like you're painting an image on a canvas that may well have had a bad day. The crowd, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the colors that you use very well might not even be the same color in 3 weeks, because something might have happened that would have changed the implications of what you said.
Right.
And it's like, so it's so
like fleeting.
It is an art form, but it is very fleeting.
Yeah.
It is very, and so like you can write timeless bits for sure. There are some, but not many.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
But like as an art form, it's like and again, it sounds pretentious to say it, but I consider myself an artist in spoken word, creating a moment amongst one group of people that makes everybody happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're playing an instrument that only has one note. It only varies in intensity. But it's art. The same way music and painting and everything else, sculpting, it's the same. To me, it's the same.
Oh, yeah. I think even more so now, because it's like a shared experience in a room is like what we need more than anything. Like, never before have we fucking... Because there are so many other... Yeah. So now it's like, I think it's more valuable than it's ever been in my lifetime. I think
there's going to be a real hunger for live performances once people get tired of the fact that there's no way to tell if what you're looking at is real in digital media.
Yeah, I know. It's already like...
I think people are going to get really fucking tired of that.
The 6 finger thing is like everywhere now.
And they're going to want to come out and see music and see comedy.
Yeah.
And I think even though there's already been a very big boom for comedy recently, I think there's going to be an even bigger one once that happens.
The part that bums me out about all the content now is like, I'm coming up on 10 years. I really wanted to like do my own little like 45-minute special and just burn that material and have it up, just for me, do it all myself, not expecting. But now I'm like, there's the amount of like terrible stand-up that's uploaded every day onto the... I don't even post like stand-up reels anymore. It's like, it's almost like what's happening in the room kind of is the end game. It's like, why would I put up some long... How many specials are uploaded to YouTube every day?
Yeah.
I bet it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's, I bet it's growing. And it's just like, and AI is like throwing its own ones in there. So it's like, it's kind of weird because until recently I was like, well, I'm doing all this. And then with albums, like with music, it's like you want to capture that and have it be like, that's kind of the real thing. But now I'm like, the digital content is, I feel like it's just like almost worthless now.
It's
like,
tough.
It's all about the room.
We kind of exist now in a game in comedy where like you kind of should be posting. You kind of should be posting as much as you can post. And nobody, except for maybe Josh Johnson, is that his name?
I don't know.
He's a comic from New York. He writes at a clip that I will never understand, but he writes so fast. I think his name's Josh Johnson. He's great. But besides him and maybe a few other prolific people, I can't write so fast that I'm putting up material. I mean, that's what breeds crowd work clips, the endless fucking sea of crowd work clips that's on Instagram that nobody watches. Do you watch them? I don't fucking watch them.
I mean, I did like
and I'm
6
in
months
comedy.
ago. I think it's just changing so fucking
It's too
fast.
much.
Yeah.
It's too much, and I already know it's not going to be good or it's going to be fine. Like, I'm not siphoning through a million fucking stand-up, a million fucking crowd work clips to find one really great interaction that you had, and I don't think other people are either.
I'd still rather watch a bad crowd work than like first year comics just like empty chairs in the shot. You know, it's just like the worst like phone like, and it's just like, but here's the 8th time I've done a
There's
joke.
a lot of that too.
Yeah, that's like, I'm like, man,
there's so much of it. There's too much of it.
Yeah, so I don't even know like what. Yeah, I've really been enjoying performing, and I've really been enjoying doing this podcast.
But that was
I'm
my
like,
point. That's where I was going. Was that the thing about comedy that's so special is that moment in the room that day, which is why the most you can get out of somebody if they're watching your special on their phone is like they might breathe hard out of their nose.
Yeah.
But that's it. You're not going to get them through the fucking phone.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Very rarely do I laugh out loud at stuff that I see on my phone.
People don't understand that too. My dad's like, I watch all these Netflix comics. None of them are funny. I'm like, well, you gotta, if you were in the room.
That's so funny.
It's like you're sitting there on your like comfortable couch.
Your dad's like the people at the very top of this aren't good. Why are you not doing better?
I'm like, that's logically sound, but there's, you got to go see it live. It's meant to be live.
It's a live art form.
Yeah.
It is so much of a live
and I really like
form.
what you're saying about the fleetingness, that like it is like the culture is changing so fast that like, 3 weeks from now, we're all pretty different. Whereas I think 100 years ago, like 3 weeks from now, it'd be a little different, but it's like, it's more important than ever to just be like, this is a performance tonight for these people. And it's like, I love that. It's like the sand.
You mean in general, everything changes faster?
Well, I mean, like culture and ideas and things, like who we are, like culturally, and what our opinions are. Like, it used to be like, for like a few hundred years ago, like over generations, those things would change and there'd be like revolutions. But now I feel like every year we're just like, the amount of like ideas flying through the internet is like, it's accelerated this. And comedy is like a fleeting sketch of this moment. And it's like, that's what's so beautiful about it, is because it's just, we're going at such a, like the culture's just changing.
I think
rapidly.
I think daily, what was it? It was something like 8,000 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube per day.
Right. Like if
something crazy like that.
If you tried to like watch it with every waking second of your life, like, and it's only increasing. So it's like, what does that curve mean for like, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
It's impossible. It's technically impossible.
Yeah.
You can't watch all of it. So many people upload to 0 views, and so many people stream to 0 viewers.
I know.
But we're all
trying.
We're all online. We're all performing for nobody.
Cody was on
it's
here.
a really interesting time.
He was talking about how there's like he ran into some people hiking on the trail and they're like, oh yeah, you do comedy? We got a YouTube channel where it doesn't have anything on it yet, but be sure to there's just this sense that like I should be making content.
Yeah.
That's what you do. It's like, no,
Right.
leave that to people that fucking are good
And hey,
at that.
I'm in the fucking trap. I want to start a YouTube channel about comedy. I think that...
Well, you can command a
way-
room to make something happen. So I think most people can't do that, and they shouldn't be making fucking content.
But I mean, I'm
there should be some,
I'm still throwing my shit on top of the giant pile of shit that everybody's making.
And then how important is it to you to go back and see that it has more than 0 views? That's something that I'm, trying to reconcile.
That's going to be tough.
Because it's like...
The comments, dude.
Yeah.
The comments destroy me. I'm going to have to... I've had people... Somebody said... I made this great fucking roast of Donald Trump or somebody, and I put it out, and I was like, yeah. And then somebody goes, Tfue, is that you? And I was like, God. Yes, I look like Tfue when I had hair.
I don't know who that is.
I
know who like 8 people are.
It doesn't
part
matter.
of this podcast is.
It literally doesn't matter who Tfue is.
Okay,
but
we don't need to.
Yeah.
It's a funny name.
No, it's just like.
Unless that's racist of me to say, then it's just not.
No. No, he's a white guy. He's some sort
good.
of. I think he's into esports, and
I hope he's a white Christian because then it's fine.
Like, what?
Go ahead.
But he was like esports, and he streamed something. I think, like I vaguely knew who he was when the guy compared me to him, and then I looked him up, and I was devastated, and then the comments fuck me up, man. So I'm gonna have to like either turn them off or just not look at them. I don't know how I'm gonna do that.
Oh yeah, you brought up the hair. That was on my list because like when Art came on, I was like, "You ever think about putting the suit back on?" Can you see what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Do you think Art? You like the suit?
Yeah.
Are you indifferent to Art's suit? I feel like the blonde hair with the iconic like Jess Cooley of like
iconic.
Yeah, it was like the pre-pandemic like with the head wrap and the strand. I feel like it was like.
Well, the issue is I got these weak genes and all my hair is just so brittle it just starts breaking.
Oh, really?
And falling out like.
Oh. You just need one good strand. It could even be like
one
a
good
fake
strand.
It could even be like
the
a fake
name of my first comedy special. One good strand. I would love to grow my hair out actually. But it's just, I've got this high-ass forehead. The only way that I liked my hair when I had it long was if I had the open-ended bandana that went around. You remember that? I had like this big block of burgundy across my forehead where nobody could see it.
Yeah, I think that's what I was
the
talking
impression that my hairline came down further than it did.
Yeah.
That looked great, I thought. But you can't wear that every day.
Yeah, you don't need it. I think it's good to like have your face be people to see like the feelings and stuff too.
I guess
it's good not to hide.
At this point, it's utilitarian. I've been shaving my head just so I don't have to fuck with it because it's so much more for me to worry about. I just don't want to worry about it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
But then I have people who profile me immediately as a racist.
Oh, I hope that's not true because I'm not.
It's definitely true.
Because that would be. I have the liberal glasses. Maybe I don't seem like too much of a.
Yeah.
Like,
you're a little more disarming than me.
It's just like I don't have a lot of options left for the looks
also,
I can have.
my face rests at get out of my fucking way, and I don't mean for it to. But Anne says that all the time. She says I always look like I want to fight. I literally
like your resting face is
almost never
scary.
want to fight.
Yeah,
I promise.
Yeah,
almost never. But I look like I do. Like I was at the grocery store the other day, and there was these 2 black girls looking at the chicken, and I was waiting my turn to look at the chicken, and they kept looking back at me like I was mad, and I was like, I'm not mad, I'm just waiting. And then and then she goes, do you want this? Because this is $30 and this is $11. And I stepped up and I was like, oh, I don't even know what I'm looking at. She told me to get 80-20. Where's 80-20? And then it broke the tension, and they realized that I didn't want to, I assume, hurt them based on the color of their skin, which is what I look like, I guess. But like, it's so crazy. Everybody looks at me and immediately thinks I'm upset or racist or both, which is the main issue with my hair. So I would like to grow it back out, but probably not going
Yeah, I
to.
mean, I don't know. I think like if you can kind of like be an empath or what, read people's energy, I think you probably do scan as someone that has got like intense, but that's like an asset for when you go on stage and when you feel comfortable on stage, that's like a place where it can explode and it fits the rules of that game in like a really great way.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess maybe when you're just standing there, it's like you can still tell there's there's this level of intensity, I think.
But it's one of the issues is when you're stepping up, people make up their mind about you pretty quick.
Yeah.
And if I'm getting up to the mic and there's a lot of people that go, oh, what's this Joe Rogan wannabe piece of shit gonna say?
Joe Rogan, what?
Just the shaved head, and
I don't think
I feel
so.
like I look broy.
I don't know. I guess I've known you for too long to really even know what you would
I'm not
look
comparing
like.
myself to him. I'm saying
I'm just
I
trying
think
to.
people think that I want to be like him based on my appearance. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I just know too much about how weird your mind is, so I can't really relate
that's
to that.
the problem. That's why I said I wonder if you'd feel the same way if you could go back and remember how you felt about me the first time you saw me.
I don't know. I mean, I remember we were definitely all like, wow, this is like, person's like really good fast, and that's like Moira, you. Now we got some new, like Dante moved. I think Ryan Gordon's gotten very good, very fast.
That's one of my top 3 abilities.
Yeah.
Right. It's Ryan Gordon, right? Gordon?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a new guy named Isaac who's like really very, this is my own taste, but like
Isaac. I don't think I've seen Isaac.
It's interesting just who manages to do that fast. I don't know. And I guess I also wonder if it's like it's harder in some ways because you have to follow it yourself. When you do come out and you like get good fast, it's like there's probably some challenges to that too, because then you just like you got to still like deal with the things, whereas I think for most of us it's just like no one even remembers your name for like a year, or like you don't get invited to any shows, so it's like you get used to just sucking, so you're happy for any shit that goes well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that sucks for me because I write incredibly slowly and not as often as I should, but when I do write, I write extremely meticulously. I change word for word, like, oh, how's it gonna go if what if I say Dr. Pepper instead of Dr. Pepper? You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, like just the inflection?
Yes.
So you're like speaking out loud to yourself?
Very, very meticulously. And so once I get a joke to the point where it's as perfect as I can make it and it's killing, I do not want to go back to writing another fucking joke that isn't going to work, that I have to do all of that with again. Like it's such a daunting task that gets in the way of me.
I have to do this
writing
again?
material. Yeah, it gets in the way. Now, I love to do it.
No, that makes sense. It makes sense what you're saying.
But at the same time, if I'm like at a show, what material do I more want to tell? Yeah. It's the fucking shit that works.
You want it to go well.
And it's hard, especially like with mics where we only get 4 minutes. I don't know, people in New York would be like, fuck you, because they only get 3 at a lot of places.
That's what they get for moving to fucking New York like an idiot.
There you go.
I'm promoting that on this show. This is the Southeast is Rising. We're going to be but good in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Anyway. Tangents.
But like, what material do I more want to tell? It's the shit that works. And with a mic where you only get 4 minutes, trying to sandwich new shit in between good and good on both ends is very difficult. So it's tough. Man, somebody in Greenville, I can't remember his name. I apologize if you're watching, but somebody told me that they went to Austin not too long ago, and I've been trying to get out to Austin for 3 years. I really want to go out to Austin because I feel like it's the place where it's new, it's exciting, they give you a lot more leeway, and based on what this person said and several other people, he went out there for 10 days, got up 16 times. I could write.
Yeah.
If I could get up 16 times in 10 days, I could write faster.
Yeah, it really is like trying to crack that.
Going to fucking 2 to 3 tops around here, 2 or 3 that are worth going to
per week
most of the time. Yeah, per week. It's very difficult.
Yeah, that is like the big challenge is like getting enough time.
Yeah.
It's like,
And, like we were saying, you do shows like Melissa Melissa books me a lot, and I'm very appreciative of that. But it shows where I'm going to do the shit that works.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sneak in a whole lot of new material in that because I
You
want
should
to do a
sneak in a
good
bunch of
job.
new
I do a little bit.
I think
But
I
it's
think
like
on her
I'm being
shows
paid
you
to
can,
do a good job, so I feel this compulsion to like do my best stuff.
I know the
and
conflict
save
you're
the other
talking
stuff
about
for the mic.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. Do a little more. Fuck around a little more. You know, if you're doing 20 minutes.
Well, I fucked around the other night because we only had 3 people, and that was fun. But for a big room, and it's like high stakes, and especially if she puts me up early, it's like
yeah,
I have to do.
yeah.
I have to try to help the show, so I have to do the shit that works. I can't fuck around too much. I feel like I can't. I don't know. Who knows if I'm right?
Do you have like a set length that you like to do the most? Is there like a particular amount of time that you like to do?
More than 6. Anything over 6.
Just enough to
I'm
like
happy.
relax into it.
Yeah. Just to get comfortable because it's really hard.
That's what I like about like Root Bar and stuff is even though it might be just like, you know, 10 or 12 comics and 4 people at the bar, like you could probably get a little more, like 6, a little more than 6 there.
Oh, you mean people? I thought you meant minutes.
Oh yeah, I just switched it to. We were talking about minutes, and then I switched it to people. But
How
no,
big
actually,
of a crowd?
well, both
the
actually.
size of the crowd dictated by the shape of the room
I'll get more
and
than
the size
6.
of the room.
I'll get more than 6 minutes there usually because it's
Yeah.
like not. There's not like it's not like music hall where there's like 30 comics. So I'll get more than 6 minutes, and then I'll get like maybe like 12 people.
Yeah.
So you like 7 or 8 minutes, 12
Hey.
people. Like I like
That's a
that,
show.
you know. But now I'm kind of rethinking a
But
lot of
that
it.
feels
'cause-
like the minimum to me.
yeah. 4 is. I mean, I also think there's value in like, I don't know if I'd call it the hang, but just being in a room with a lot of other,
Sure.
like I see, even watching new comics that like it's not good. I'm like, well, why isn't it good? You know,
Yeah.
and then some like Jason Weber, Cody might come. So it's like, I still think you can learn from just being being around
absolutely.
it. You know, so it's like I only got 4 minutes, but I'm like in this room
Yeah.
with like all the ideas flying around.
But I will say, I feel like I've learned everything I'm going to learn from
Asheville.
comedians that are the ones that are currently here and the
Yeah.
ones that have already left. I feel like not that I'm better than them in any way because I'm not. I know I'm not, but I do feel like to whatever degree I am a pupil of comedy, I feel like I've learned as much as I can learn from those particular people.
Yeah.
And I really want to get
Somewhere.
somewhere else where I'm surrounded by
I would agree
people
with that. I
are
think there's
so much better
diminishing
than me that it
returns.
hurts.
Like diminishing returns. Like,
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
if you go to some whole different place with a different culture far away, it's like you're gonna just be lit
Yeah.
up and your brain's gonna be activated in so many new ways.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that through touring because I don't have the means
I
to
hate to
leave.
do this, but I gotta pee.
Oh, that's all right.
Let me hop into the bathroom.
I'll just talk to you while you're. Podcast has been cool because like it's kind of like brought the comedy brains into the place where I hang out with my family. So it's kind of cool after this many years of just having like a double life to kind of be like try to like blur. Like sometimes my 12-year-old Eleanor will sit there and like listen to the podcast. She'll sit on the couch and like, yeah, she's just really interested in ideas and art and stuff. So
that's cool.
yeah,
That's man, listening to old men talk. You know what I mean? When you were a kid,
Yeah.
and you were like
slow and low.
just so enamored with adult conversation,
Yeah,
and like I love listening to old people talk.
yeah,
Even today,
yeah,
like old people. I know I'm old, but like as a kid, listening to older people talk is so fascinating.
yeah,
It's
They've
really
lived a
cool that
life.
she has that with you,
yeah,
being able to listen to you like express your ideas and think.
yeah.
Like listening to your dad think is a really interesting concept. to me.
Yeah, and she appreciates that. Like she like is kind of an old soul. She'll kind of get down with that kind of stuff, which is because she reads a lot
That's
and she's
cool.
into ideas. So yeah, I'm like, she's like, wow, you friends with all these like interesting people. You know? I mean, that's really been like that's the podcast, and like I'm starting to embrace more that like my role in the comedy community is like you got to kind of like go with what's working. Like I think these conversations are kind of like I think this is like the most successful thing I've done, with comedy, is this podcast. I think so. I mean, it just, because it's collaborative. It's not just me.
Well, that's the thing about like me wanting to start this channel is that I'm getting so obsessed with videography. I love cameras. I love everything. I love editing. I love color grading. I'm so bad at it, but like I've loved learning how to do all these things, and marrying that with comedy is like the best of both worlds, because I love comedy and I love videography, and it just makes sense for me to do something with both of them.
Yeah.
And also it's like, you're a comic, I'm a comic. If you can make any money at all, even tangentially related to comedy, fucking do it, dude, because it's tough.
Yeah, I don't expect to. That's the nice thing about, like, with music, I tried to make it like something that I could get paid for, and it really like made me bitter, and I had to take years off and then come back to comedy. I have I'm a web developer. I have other things, so it's really just the art, the community, just the ideas.
Yeah.
And I think just standing before the people and trying to do that is like, it would make you better at any art that you do, because like I was in my room alone playing instruments and layering them on my laptop, and then you just put it up on the internet, and it's like, people don't care. But like comedy, you're like, the editing is happening, the audience is informing, they're shaping the material, so it's so different. And then when we are just talking here, it's like, well, how many hours have we been in front of different crowds? Like, we're better talkers. Our ideas we can like articulate so much better. Because we've stood before the people. I think it's just like, it's the coolest thing.
My brother is talking about wanting to, he's like, he got sober, and he wants to like go around to churches and anonymous rooms, like program rooms, and just kind of give his testimonial and stuff. And he's like almost, I guess he's over 50 now, I think.
Oh, wow.
And he's just terrified of getting up in front of people. And I'm trying to tell him, like, you're entertaining to listen to talk. Like, all you have to do is just get up there and fucking break the ice and roll with it. It's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
But like, it's so funny to me that he's that old and still terrified to think in front of people.
Yeah.
Because that's really what speaking
most
is.
People.
You're thinking in real time, and that's why I think everybody's so protective over it and so scared to do it in front of other people, because you don't want people to see you think in real time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, well, I have all kinds of like dark, weird thoughts, and Asheville is a very like touchy community. So like, just being a almost 45-year-old that grew up in the South in front of these progressive people in their 20s, it's like, what if I say that thing? I don't have any hate in my heart, but like, I think I've built up enough trust in this community now that like I can do that. But if I'm going to try a joke on like sexism or something, I'll do it at the odd first, not root bar, because I'll try to see like, I'll like say it, and then I'll look at Marlene and I'll be like, all right, I need to go work on that idea a little more.
That's interesting. Like, the odd, for some reason, for me, I hate that room. I've never done well there. I've very rarely done well there.
It's cool with Julia. It's a different.
I need to get out there. I've been meaning.
It's been really fun.
I've heard it's been good.
Maybe,
Julia took it over. Take that, James.
Yeah, I know. It comes Julia up like every third podcast. We're like, we don't need you at all anymore.
I hope he's doing well. He went to Colorado.
Yeah, Denver.
Yeah.
Him and Allison.
I've heard it's a good scene out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Cody and Helen are thinking about moving out there too.
What's that?
Cody and Helen.
Oh, yeah.
Are thinking about moving out there. I guess Kelsey Rosen's out there. She was from Asheville.
Oh, I thought she went to Chicago.
I think she's in Denver. I could be wrong, but I think she's in Denver.
Huh.
Yeah.
She was great.
Yeah.
She was really nice.
Yeah. I'm going to stay here, though. So I'm hoping that there's still... I really agree with what you're saying. If you can go to a different city, I think it will accelerate you more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to promote this idea that, like, some of us can stay and we can build up a touring network. Like,
definitely can.
Because there's... like the Southeast is going to be like hip hop, where it's like you had to be from New York or LA, and then it was like, well, Atlanta, and then it was like Texas, and like the Southeast, the New York style of like bum bum bum, we're so smart, is like kind of feels a little old to me, old school, and that like the Southeast is going to have its own cool fucked up Southern version of comedy that we're all just making it up right now, and in like another 5 or 10 years it's not going to be, because like when we started, even like how many mics were there in the Southeast? Now you can go to Nashville, Atlanta.
Well, the Southeast has historically been a horrible place for comedy.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be even cooler when it gets there.
So there is something to that crushing coal into diamonds mentality where, I think there have been a lot of great comedians that have come out of the South, but I don't know how many, and I'm not saying there aren't any, but I don't know how many stayed in the South.
Like Bargatze.
Did he?
No, he didn't.
Oh,
I'm agreeing with you. I've been like, everybody had to leave to get good. But
right.
I think now, like, when Bargatze started in the 2000s, there was no mics anywhere in the Southeast. You had to go. But I think I'm trying to promote this idea.
Well, I agree that maybe the
infrastructure
Bible Belt, maybe you're right about the Bible Belt. And I think maybe Austin is the hub of that right now.
Yeah.
So potentially. But I don't know about... I hate to disagree with you outright, but
you're encouraged to disagree with yourself on this podcast. It's all
most
very
of the time,
just loose.
Most of the time, I feel like I got to get the fuck out of here. I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. Have you got to go perform like out of the Southeast? Have you gotten to just go do mics or anything like that?
I mean, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't know that I have.
Because I feel like if you could like figure out a way to do the road, which is I think so hard financially, emotionally. I mean, so hard. So it's not like, oh yeah, have you ever thought about just doing the roads? Like, yeah, I'm sure you have. But like, if you could just with what you already have, and like the stress of trying to write new stuff, it's like instead of doing it all here, like if you could, I don't know how much time you would like to do, like 30 minutes or whatever, or like, and just like, if you could just
I'd love to
spend
do
a
the
few
road
years.
to experience the road. I would love to do that. But man, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do feel like I hear people who know more than me who say that the road really, like you can hear it in their comedy if they've done the road too much.
Yeah.
And they really need to like settle in somewhere.
Yeah.
And like
if you
work on stuff.
If like I've heard some people like Sam Morril came through. I saw him, and on his podcast he was like, you got to make sure it hits in Chicago, it hits in Portland, and and it's like, aren't you kind of watering yourself down if you're trying to please everybody versus like you find your weird little niche? Like this idea that you have to make sure before you put out your special that it works everywhere.
I think there's got to be a balance of the two because absolutely you want your comedy to appeal to the largest number of people possible without sacrificing your own artistic integrity, but you also live in a time where it's so much easier than it ever has been to find 10,000 people who love exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
And they can be like a committed fan base and support you financially and otherwise, and you can make a living off of that and have a great time. So it's like you kind of have to choose. If I ever get to the point where I have to choose, I'll let you know. But at the moment, I've had a lot of people say you got to learn how to work clean, and I think that's so fucking dead. That's such an antiquated way of thinking that it is just me personally. I know a lot of people disagree, but
yeah,
I don't think that's important at all
it's
anymore.
old. I think it's old school. Like there's a guy named Greg Harden who books with Funny Business, and I work with him a little. He does like a lot of clean shows, older crowds that have money, like comedy zones, and there's definitely like also casinos and cruises and stuff. And it's like, the fact that I'm able to work clean and so few people in Nashville has gotten me a lot more opportunities that have paid well. Like I can do a clean gig and then I can make enough money to go to Atlanta and do like the $20 shows and stay in an Airbnb, and I kind of break even. So I think,
like listening to a lot of clean comedy
Oh,
sometimes.
Really? Yeah.
I love both.
Yeah.
I don't
think you have
both.
to. Yeah. I would never say you got to do clean. I think that is antiquated.
I think there's nothing wrong with the people who feel led to learn how to do clean comedy or feel led to do nothing but clean comedy. That's great for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think just as an artist in the industry of comedy that you have to learn how to work clean. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say that either. I think it's like I'm interested in it, and I think you can have more opportunities if you're willing to work clean. There's like more things you can do, but Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's
your
also
style
like,
is
what do
not-
you want to do long term?
Your artistic voice is not clean.
No, it is not.
And the funniest stuff to me usually isn't. There's a few
Right.
people that are clean that actually are
Yeah.
that funny, but I tend to prefer like Patrice O'Neal. It's like I'll laugh
Yeah.
alone in a room
Yeah.
listening to him. It's so filthy.
And imagine if Patrice O'Neal got caught in a fucking in this groove where he's like successful enough being a clean comedian and he never did any of the other shit
Yeah.
that he did. It'd be like,
Right. Yeah.
what a shame that would have been.
Right.
I think if you know you're gonna want to do clean comedy when you're at the top of your craft, great, do that. But I'm never gonna want to do that. No part of me
Yeah.
wants to work clean at all.
Yeah, and that's
ever.
not your brand. I mean, that's kind of a dirty word, brand, but I mean that's not what you do.
It applies.
You said artistic integrity.
Yeah.
Like I want to put a pin in that, but like what does that mean to you? Like artistic, not sacrificing your
What it means to me. I think so I have to go back a little bit to say it, but like a lot of writing jokes to me is, oh, I had a funny thought and I laughed, and so I know that thought's funny. And then you take it to a crowd, and if you say it exactly the way that you said it the first time, it might not get laughs, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, in my estimation, is that you're not in the same situation or headspace.
Yeah, the context has
Those
changed.
people are not in the same situation or headspace that you were in when you said the thing.
Yeah.
So first of all, you have to set it up to where they understand the situation in which it was funny.
Yeah, and you got to do
And
that
then-
quickly too.
Right? And then you also have to put them in the headspace that you were in when you laughed at it. Right? And so why did I say that? What was your question?
Just artistic integrity, just like any thought.
Oh, right.
Any
And
thoughts on
so-
it. You don't have to explain what it is, but just any thoughts on it.
No. It's and so in doing that, you're gonna change what you're trying to say slightly so that it works for them and you're both sharing the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could keep changing it and watering it down and destroying it to the point where you're getting laughs, but it's no longer the idea that you wanted to get across. It's no longer the joke that you wanted to write.
Yeah,
it's
like-
no longer even a joke that you like to tell. You could definitely do that, but then you've sacrificed your artistic integrity.
Like it started with the feeling of you being like, "This is hilarious."
Yeah, it's a thing
if
you
it gets,
enjoy making.
if you have to get out of compromise that to make them laugh, that's not worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
There has to be some compromise,
Yeah.
at least linguistically, but not so much compromise that you're painting corporate art for the inside of a fucking waiting room. You know what I mean? Like, it's no longer the painting you set out to paint at that point.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that is interesting because it's like in my day job, that is almost like doing corporate paintings. So it's like I have some element of that. I remember Hillary was on here and she's like, I need somebody to manage me, do all that shit for me. Because like if I start even trying to send out the emails and stuff, that's going to compromise. Like I just live the shit and I say the shit. I mean, she's a very unique individual. I'm not saying, this is something anybody else would say, but
that's
she's
interesting.
And then I'm like, well, I'm kind of like a practical kind of person where I'm kind of like pretty good at like sending out the emails and being organized,
Yeah.
But I feel like that can almost kind of maybe hinder you creatively sometimes because you are functioning like, like bot of the society or whatever. You know?
The romantic notion that I stumble out of a limo, pills falling on the ground, and I just walk up to the microphone and everything's set up for me, and I just go "Ba-ba-da-ba-boo," and everybody
Just like Mitch.
shakes the fucking building, and everybody laughs, and then I fall backwards into a bed full of money.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
But that's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
I would love for everything to be set up for me so that I can just be irresponsibly immature and I'm an artist.
Sometimes that
I mean?
shit'll just kill you though. You see it just
Oh, it will.
like a time and time once
It
you get
absolutely will.
it's like so
But it's also like talking about artistic integrity. So talking about how there's things that you can say about a certain subject that absolutely will make a crowd laugh. You could kill, but it's not the joke that you wanted to write.
Yeah.
And it's not a joke that says anything.
Yeah.
Not that all comedy
Like
has
that's
to
how
say
I feel
something.
about all my like jokes from like pre-pandemic and stuff. It's like if I'm doing like 30 clean, I'll say a bunch of them, but it's like I got to be careful how much I say those same jokes because it almost kind of like takes away from like.
So what
growth.
I find hilarious. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
What I find hilarious is like a comedian who everything that they've written is just empty, soulless, the correct words to say to make people laugh. And they're just riding that high like, I'm a great comic. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not tied to like their emotion or the spirit. Or
there's no artistic integrity in what you're doing. It's like, I know you don't even like what you just said. So what's the point? Like, are you just here to push people's buttons to make them do the ha-has and go home?
Yeah.
Like, is there nothing deeper in this art form that you care about, that you want to do, that you want to make, that you want to create? Is it all just surface level bullshit?
Yeah, like business.
Because it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, again, at the risk of sounding arrogant, which I probably already do.
But everybody comes on here and could sound that way. It's nothing. You're fine.
But I'm so insecure about it. Like, I don't want to sound arrogant ever. But
you don't have to watch this after. It's gonna be great. But yeah, don't.
I'm not going to.
Whatever. If you feel good after, just don't watch it.
But at the risk of sounding arrogant, it's like that joke that I wrote about suicide meant a lot to me. And I genuinely almost died writing it, and it's not even as good as I wish it would. I wish it was, you know. Are
any of your jokes as good as you wish it was?
No.
Have you ever? Yeah. So it's like you strive for it, but it's like
right.
It's like
and so that's
unattainable.
That's
ideal.
kind of you're kind of saying it is like I hate everything that I've ever written, but it's not because it's not what I want to say. It's definitely what I want to say.
But it's not perfect.
But it's not as perfect as it. Yes, but that's the reason. And so I feel like
so you're like torturing yourself trying to get to this. But it's like you never get there. But the striving for it is working.
Right. But I don't hate my shit because it's empty and soulless.
Yeah.
And there's people who love their own comedy.
Yeah.
And it is super surface level women be shopping bullshit. And it quietly in the corner, it drives me fucking crazy.
But do you think people in the audience are like legitimately enjoying that? Like there are some people?
Yes, I do think they enjoy it.
It's like if it's a matter of taste, it's like
absolutely there is a place for that. People like it, they buy it, they seek it out. Great. That's not me.
Most people don't. I don't think most people really want to be challenged on like their belief system and stuff like that. So it's like you kind of are doing comedy more like where it's like kind of you're challenging things.
It's the shit that I think about.
Like Chesney came on, and I think he's like that too, where he's like he doesn't.
Absolutely,
he's gonna challenge.
Absolutely,
he's not, and he could definitely get up and just do
one of the
tight fives.
Best premises and jokes I've ever heard is his joke about motherfuckers reenacting the Civil War.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a good
like
one.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
with
black people.
Yeah, black people can't do that with gangs like Tupac and Biggie reenacting. It's like, no, man, I shot you. You gotta lay down. Like that whole pairing those two things was so fucking smart. Chesney's such a great writer. I really love.
And I think
Chesney's
like when you mention artistic integrity, he's someone I think of.
Absolutely,
it's like he's just like it's gonna be straight from the heart, straight from just some place you haven't heard it before.
I agree.
Like even when he feels like it's bad, I'm like that was quite enjoyable for me just to watch you do that, and these people get upset. It's like
and
everybody
if you're
has
not
to like
doing that. It's like there's absolutely a place for empty, soulless bullshit comedy. It's not anywhere I want to be, but there's a place for it, and that's fine. And I'm not going to change anybody's mind about that. Whatever. But there's also, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this all for something?
It's like listening to pop country or
absolutely
watching a romantic
music.
comedy that's like it's kind of like give me the basic one I've heard before with like a few tweaks because I don't really know that this is an art form. I'm not want to be challenged. It's just like most people are like that. Most people are not like whatever the word is. I don't want to say
And it
smart,
sucks.
but yeah, yeah,
It sucks for me as someone who doesn't want to do that type of comedy.
yeah.
And comedy means more to me than that. And like, I really want to do something with this joke. I really want to say something, whatever I'm capable of saying at the end of it, whatever that is, that's what I'm going to try to do.
Is this joke we're talking about, the suicide joke? Is it to have a connector where it's like, don't pray for me?
Yeah.
I don't want to like give away your punchlines, but you don't
No,
like
it's fine. You can
awaken
give it away.
Like I feel like that's like such a. I always really enjoy because the part you very descriptive words about waking up somewhere else in the multiverse with the eggs and whatever. It's like
that weird.
It's so bizarre, and to me, it's like that's pretty far from what other people would think of as being on that topic. But I think like through sheer tyranny of will, like you managed to like when they laugh at that part, I'm like that really. I don't understand how that like you really like get. Does it make sense what I'm saying? It's like there's these bizarre, absurdist things that creep, but then it's like a very real thing. But then there'll be these certain punches that are like just so
that's why it
bizarre.
ends with me going, but you can't say that to your mom. So she says, I'm praying for you. And I go, thank you so much. that idea, it's like, there's a lot of people in the Southeast who they don't even conceptualize what somebody else might think about prayer. You know what I mean? But in telling that joke, they have to question it. Yeah. Because I'm comparing it to something so absurd. Yeah. Or saying that I don't know what's out there and neither do you. You're going to wake up some eldritch god and offer me to him as a sacrifice. That whole chunk of that joke is like, now they're thinking about prayer in a different way. And I have to say that in a way that makes it okay for me to say that to someone who's a devout Christian. Right. Right?
Because it's so absurd that they're like, oh, he's not talking about my shit or something.
Right.
That's interesting. So you almost got there because you were like, I know I'm talking about prayer and that's going to be upsetting, so I need to...
Yeah, I even talk about how my mom gets on her knees and lights a candle, which isn't true, but it just works for the bit. Yeah. But like... My mom gets on her knees and
There's little details,
lights a candle and sets the mood or whatever, and that I think it's gross. And then I go, oh, Mom's got a boyfriend, right? That whole line. It's like I've sexualized it. I've compared it to fantasy literature. I've said that I don't want you to pray for me because I don't want to be a sex slave on the other side of the multiverse if you fuck up the way you pray.
Is that from like, did you see a movie or read a book where that was a thing and then you like were like, no. Oh, that can, or you just go like, you just think it up?
No, I just thought about like, if none of us actually knew how prayer worked, but we were all still praying, what could happen? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like what could happen if traditional organized religion is incorrect? You know what I mean? Who are we praying to? Are we just whispering into the dark? Yeah. Or is there something out there? Is it what they think is out there? Yeah. And if it isn't, this might happen. So don't pray for me because it scares me.
Yeah, it's almost like if Christianity is like the default setting, so we don't see it. Right. But then like what if we thought about it like you're some mummy or something that's going to get like...
But it's like, to my point is... There's a lot of jokes that I could write and tell that would stroke the surface level of people's funny bones or whatever and make people laugh. But it's like, what's it for?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you should be doing that because I love the way you do it.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I don't know. It's weird because I think you're definitely like really on the bleeding edge of stuff. And I always want that in my scene. I want to be around that because I think like I almost see our comedy scene in Asheville as like one kind of organism, and you want people that are like on, you want to be like in a well-rounded group of people. Yeah. But like to me, it's like I like that there's people around that just pray and don't think about it. I'm almost like more terrified if anarchy did happen and we all just like cast aside every tradition we've known and we're just like, like to me, that's like the end of the world. It's like,
but what a fun thought.
That sounds like some just like dystopian apocalypse where we all die in like a week or something.
Like what would happen? Yeah. That sounds so fun to me. I don't know. I'm an accelerationist. I burn it all down, rebuild, Not really, but It's fun to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, she's comfy. Well, I will say, I think there's a place for every style of comedy. Silly, surface level, even empty and soulless.
Well, Mitch is really interesting in this conversation because Mitch's jokes, him talking about candy bars.
Hedberg?
Mitch, Hedberg. But I feel like Mitch still manages to be on the bleeding edge, or at that time.
His perspective was the funny thing. So he would talk about.
I think his delivery is a big part of it too.
Absolutely.
Just like
for
the
sure.
packaging is like what
for sure.
His voice, like
but,
if somebody else read those lines in the suit as the basic white dude, none of it would be genius
for sure.
Like it's at least half delivery.
I agree. It's definitely partly delivery, but what I love about Mitch is, and I think what made it work, along with delivery, was that he had such a funny way of perceiving ordinary things. Like the thing he says about the picture of his sister's family, and they're all in the family photograph, and something happened off to the left that made everybody happy. That's hilarious because it's like it's a regular observation, but it's twisted. It's through his lens, and it's so clearly through his idiosyncratic lens that that makes it so apart from any observation that a regular person would make, but it applies. And so it's always like, but it's also his confidence in saying it that way.
Yeah. Here's that Cosby thing where every syllable, I can't even do an impression of it, but is an accent on every, or it's like more like, I don't know, it's almost like playing the drums or something where it's like boom, but there's never like a, it's always like, hot, you know what I mean? Like he accents and it's wrong. It's like, it's a wrong way of talking.
If I wanted a frozen banana, and I said no, but I might want a regular banana later. So yes. Yeah, his delivery is so great.
Because you look at like Seinfeld or something, and it's similar in the way that it's like, let's talk about the little candy bars and shit, but it's not from another planet. He's like, Seinfeld's, to me, feels like he's very much within the machine, the capitalist machine of comedy. And now he's like, but in the 90s it felt new, but like Mitch almost came out a few years later.
Seinfeld is
similar, but so fucking like, what is it about? Why is Mitch an alien from another planet? Why is it so compelling?
Yeah.
When he's talking about fucking Skittles. Like I still don't quite.
Like we're all in a plant. We're all in an Amazon warehouse distribution center. We're all boxing shit up. And Jerry Seinfeld is a guy at the end of the line who makes funny observations about shit as we all ship stuff out the door. Mitch is more like the guy who couldn't get a job there to begin with, but if you go around the corner and buy him a fifth of liquor, he'll talk to you for a while.
Yeah.
And his outlook on life and his perception of ordinary daily activities is so different.
Yeah.
There's such high thoughts that it's like, it's not the same.
Do you think it helps to be like, you know, having a real rough go of it in life, you know? Like
100%.
Like bad at life, good at comedy.
Depending on what kind of comedy.
Yeah, and not 100% of the time, but the correlation seems awfully fucking high. Like people, you know, that I don't know.
Well, I think it's just necessary in developing a sophisticated sense of humor. First of all,
right? Because it's like coping almost. It's like
I don't
suffering.
think you have a sophisticated sense of humor unless it includes gallows humor. You know what I mean?
Gallows, like hanging people, like
like making a joke while we're all gonna get hanged.
Oh right,
we're all waiting to be hanged and we're cracking jokes. It's like if it doesn't also include that, then you're not fully integrated. Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of trying to get at with the question about like whether you realized you could make people laugh to disarm them, or that's a cliche response. I'm not saying that's putting that on you, but just like that there's some part of your origin story where it's like there's a lot of gallows. There's some gallows moments, and you're like, and you had to reach down, and then you're like, oh,
I got this fucking skill, and then there's a place where people get up and try to do this. I can tell most of these people have not been on the gallows. This is going to be, you can sense that you kind of have an advantage because other things maybe were a disadvantage. You know what I mean? Like it's an alchemy of like.
Well, first of all, being on the autistic spectrum, having autism spectrum
and
disorder.
That's a big one. Like Jason Webb, like so many of like my comedians that are the funniest, like I'm autistic. I'm like that's a correlation that's real high too.
I think that helps a lot with the Mitch Hedberg thing where our perspective is different.
Yeah.
Because we have to go a roundabout way of learning the same things that everybody else does. And so it's not always like A, B, C. Sometimes it's like A to C.
Yeah.
And we go,
but the math still works. And when you tell us A, F, D, 7, hashtag, then people fucking, we love it because we're like, I didn't know you could go that way.
Yeah. No, exactly.
It's like such a wrong way, but it makes sense.
Seinfeld talks about how a good joke is like jumping a cliff. And if the cliff, or jumping a gap between two cliffs, if it's too close together, it's not impressive. And if it's too far apart, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
So it has to be the exact distance that you can leap from this point of reference to that point of reference, and the audience can immediately catch up. And it's somewhat that whiplash of being brought forward in time or in space or in conception that makes them laugh. Because they're kind of stunned that we're already there.
Yeah.
We're at that point.
Right.
Or they're laughing.
That's Mitch. That's Mitch right there. It snaps into place. You're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then at the end it goes, foom, and you're like, oh, shit. And
then sometimes it's also people laughing because they understand what you did there. Like, I get it, laugh.
Yeah.
That like
relatable.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, it's so
people
not what I relate to that it's like funny because it's like.
And that's absurdity.
Like.
So like sometimes things are just so absurd that people laugh at them. But like you can use that to your advantage where you know you're going to have people in the audience that you're going to get, and I get it, laugh out of them because maybe they did nursing and they know exactly what you're talking about with this one medication or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like.
It requires specific knowledge.
Yeah. But going from A to C, sometimes you can improve a joke just from taking shit out.
Oh yeah.
And like you have a joke that's working, and you're at A, then you're at B, then you're at C. And it works, and they laugh a little bit at B because they know where you're going. But what would happen if you just took B out of it and went from A to C?
Right.
Is it too far for them to catch up with you?
Yeah.
Or is it exactly far enough for everybody to catch up and laugh way more than they did at both B and C?
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like if your spin is too easy.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the brain. It's jokes are almost like riddles or puzzles or something where like when you figure it out, you know, when it snaps.
Writing them definitely
I heard somebody call Mitch's jokes configurational. Like it's some different, there's a different type of surprise or whatever where it's like things snap into place like at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though. So it's almost like if you go A, B, C, I'm trying to say back to you what I thought you heard. Like it's like, it makes too much sense. It's because life is like shit you just hear on the news. Whereas if you go A to some other place, it's like it just kind of go, oh, this is comedy.
I mean, there are times when you have to just realize that you're a human being, the audience is human beings, and so you have to give them enough credit that they'll know what you mean if you skip some shit. And sometimes you got to skip some shit to make a joke work. Yeah. And just infer it.
That's my favorite thing.
Let them catch up on their own.
When you leave a part out accidentally and then they still get it, and you're like, whoa. Like, right. I was like, I guess treating them like they were dumb or something. Like they're good, you know? Yeah. Like maybe I'm just saying too much all the time. Yeah. Man. I really like what you said about, like Dante was on, he was saying that too. Like he'll say, you gave an example of like saying the same words written, but with the inflections slightly different. Like I really like that because I've been working on a lot of new stuff, so it's always got too many words in it. And that I really am interested in trying to do, because to me that's almost like musical, the way you said it. It's like it's the rhythm, it's the sound of it.
It absolutely is. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Jim?
We've been just out there for a while.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. We should wrap it up.
All right.
We're at an hour and 52 minutes.
Hey, great. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.